Are you looking for the secret to making all your marketing messages more effective? Everybody in the car business is talking about AI.
But what's the best way to use it in your dealership? Keep watching and we'll lay it all out.
Hey, I'm Travis Miller.
And I'm Jimmy V.
And this is the show that helps you build a better dealership.
All right, T. Ding, ding, ding. Let's ring that bell and get into business, right? We're going to be talking today about, everybody is talking about AI, and we are going to be talking about AI, but we're going to specifically talk about Grok's advice.
Oh, Grok's advice.
Recently, Grok has released its Grok 3, like the 3.0, and it gives you two really crazy cool features. It gives you the deep search and the think feature, all free, by the way. Well, you can use Grok for free, but then there's a paid version of Grok, but you can use these tools for free.
Yeah.
And they're killer.
Yeah. It's really, really impressive. The speed and depth, and one of the other great things about it is that it creates transparency into its thought process. So it doesn't just output the answer unless you tell it to. Sometimes I have to tell it, look, just cut to the chase, give me the answer. But it walks you through all of its logical reasoning steps, which can allow you, first of all, to understand its thinking patterns, which is helpful, but also to go back and see, like if you agree or disagree or how it came up with the answer.
It shows you kind of like what it's researched to find the answers, and which sometimes like even going back and looking at those sources helps to, further give you information on the topic. But regardless, these LLMs and other AI tools are just rapidly advancing in their power and importance. And, in the car business, all the kinds of vendors are talking about AI. Everybody's rushing to put AI tools into their products and services. And every marketer on the planet is pitching AI to dealerships. You, as a dealer out there, you must have heard so many AI pitches by now. It must be just making you want to puke.
Yeah. You probably don't even want to use AI yourself because you're tired of hearing about it from everybody. So we recently had an interesting conversation with Grok ourselves, where we were going back and forth and talking about, the challenges and opportunities that dealerships face and the role of artificial intelligence in addressing those challenges and capitalizing on those opportunities. And Grok actually gave us a surprising piece of advice that we want to share with you.
It's almost like we were doing a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for a dealership related to AI? And that's where out of that came this surprising piece of advice.
Right. And how can a dealership stand out and differentiate itself in a world where AI is dominating tech and that AI tech is dominating the industry and changing everything as it is? And so are you interested to know what Grok's advice was?
Yeah, well, before we jump to the advice part, T, I've got two things. One is it's interesting because prior to the advancement of AI or the rapid advancement of AI, dealer vendors and the industry at large was rushing toward digital retailing and digital tools taking over the industry as it was. Now, with the advent and rapidly scaling AI opportunity, it's going to be a race for that, right? There's like an arms race for who can do the entire car buying process online first, right? That is happening. And we're going to tell you Grok's surprising advice related to that.
Have you ever stopped, by the way, to consider like who's the winner in a fully artificial, automated, online, digital retail experience? Who's the winner in that? I mean, let's walk through it. Because one of the surprising things is, what's not surprising is that there are tons of vendors and power players in the industry pushing for this. Right? That's not surprising. What is surprising to me, though, is how many dealerships seem to be really interested in it and trying to hasten the development of this. But so let's walk through like the who wins in this scenario kind of conversation. So let's start with let's start with the customer. I always like putting the customer first. Does the customer win in a completely digital retail environment, digital sales environment? Does the customer win? What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think first off, it would depend on the customer. I think that there are a small segment of the buying population who might benefit, largely because they're very tech forward. They are always on the cutting edge, and they have money, and they have no real car buying challenges. They don't have financing challenges. They don't have tech challenges. They don't have
trade equity problems.
They don't have trade equity problems. They have none of that. And for them, a complete digital experience might work.
Okay.
But pretty much everyone else, I don't believe truly benefits from a digital experience. And frankly, even the stats don't show that either. It shows that people ultimately want a human element and to see, touch, and feel a vehicle before they purchase it, which would require being in its proximity, which would require non-digital technology. It's called tactile experience.
Yeah, right. There's certain things. Well, also, in our experience has been that a lot of people need help with some element of the process, arranging the right financing, handling the trade equity issues, making the right decisions.
Right.
It's a complicated process.
We know that people don't frequently buy the car they came in thinking they were going to buy for a myriad of reasons.
Yeah.
So that would mean that if the entire process were hands off and digital, that often people would end up buying cars that are not a fit. And I even saw a statistic recently, and I don't remember the source, so I can't quote it, but it was essentially something like return rates are higher when customers do not test drive a vehicle.
Oh, right. Yeah. I saw that too. Right. So, okay. So where are we in this? That probably overall, like some customers would benefit. It would be a win for some customers, but not a win for most. And certainly it would be a loss for many, the people who need more complex.
And it's funny, Travis, I also think that it might, I said that certain customers, but I also think certain dealerships too. Like, I guess if your dealership is terrible, then giving a customer a full digital experience might be better for them than having a traditional experience.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, let's transition to talking about like the dealership here. Does the dealership win in this environment? And I think that, when you think about it, like, immediately, like your immediate thoughts are think about all the expenses that we could shave, right? Because you could cut down on, your physical plant, space constraints, utility costs, and labor, of course. And you could reduce all those expenses if you could transition a lot of that work over to, digital AI tools. You could sell cars without all the, they sometimes say, man, this would be a great business if it weren't for all the people involved, right?
Right.
And so if you could cut out the people, that would maybe be a win. And maybe that's what some dealers are chasing after. I don't know.
And I think there's an incredible amount of space and opportunity in the car business for efficiencies using AI related tools.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you ask who wins in a complete digital retailing universe, it's not really the customer or the dealership. It's the marketing technology company providers, many of which we would categorize under our banner of profit snatchers. Yep. Basically, profit snatchers are third-party companies that insert themselves into the the car buying process and essentially funnel profit away from the dealership into their own pockets, in theory, as a benefit to the dealership, but ultimately as a detriment to the dealership. So the dealership continue to fund their own demise.
Right, exactly. I'm going to dig in on that a little bit, but you saying that made me think of one of my favorite movies, which is Napoleon Dynamite, and Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite. Uncle Rico, they at one point Napoleon and his brother Kip say to Uncle Rico, "You're just here eating all of our steak and ruining all of our lives," and that's what the profit snatchers are like. They're eating all your steak and ruining everybody's lives. Like,
that's right.
They get involved and they enrich themselves and make things worse for everybody else. Because the big problem, if you think about it a bit, why I think that digital retailing is a nightmare scenario for dealerships is that look, we've worked with, I mean, over the years, honestly, we've probably worked with closely with over 1,000 dealerships. We know a lot of we had a lot of experience working with you guys. We understand the businesses. The small local dealership is simply not equipped to compete in a digital retailing environment against the big players. And so all that's going to happen, period, is that the big players will put the little players out of business. If this whole business were to go digital tomorrow, the small, certainly single point, privately owned, individually, family owned dealership is going to disappear. There's no doubt about it. They can't survive.
No, it's and there's already a roll up scenario happening in the industry, and it will just continue to do that until there are a handful of players,
right,
all using these tools and technologies, all really in connection, collusion. Sometimes I don't like to use these words that sound so nefarious. Collusion with the big tech companies and the manufacturers. So it becomes big tech, big manufacturer, and big dealership groups, and everybody else is forced out. And that, again, that is profits. Now, that's where the profit snatchers idea comes from, because it's really profit snatching from the smaller, independent individual dealership who is just a local business versus a mega company, right?
Yeah. Well, look, this is what our book that we wrote, Profit Snatchers, is all about. Invasion of the Profit Snatchers. Look it up on Amazon. This is what this is all about. It was written more than 10 years ago, and it sadly predicts the exact future that we're living through. And it was a warning for everybody. Like, be careful.
Yeah, and we were talking about Carmazon.com back then. Carmazon is nearly upon us.
It really is. And so what I don't understand, what I've never understood, is why dealerships finance this stuff. Like, dealerships should not. So I don't think that dealerships should support this. And the way you support it is by spending money with the companies that build this stuff. Like,
right. That's how you fund it. Actually, you're funding it.
Right. So, doesn't make sense. So in this scenario, dealerships don't win, customers don't win, the profit snatchers win. And so it's kind of interesting. And also, in this kind of, we're kind of we're getting to the point, the answer, what Grok's advice was. The big issue, another big issue here, is that if it all happens online, then what makes one dealership any different than another? It all comes down to just inventory and price, right? That's the only differentiating factor. And if you think about it, like, there are certain elements in the industry that want for dealerships to all look alike, right? But I don't think those elements should be the dealerships.
Prices to be fixed.
Right. But that's not what dealerships should want.
Right.
Dealerships should want to stand out based on their uniqueness and have factors of differentiation other than price and inventory. Certainly those are parts of the factor, but I wouldn't only want to be judged on price, because I don't even
think that those are great differentiations, unless you have just all the inventory and the absolute lowest prices, which, that doesn't behoove you and from a profit perspective. But I mean, I guess if you're a large enough mega corporation that considers enterprise value more important than individual profit, then that might be their advantage. That could be actually an advantage for them, but it's not an advantage. It can't be an advantage for everyone, because not everyone can have the lowest price, and ultimately not everyone can have the most or even a lot of inventory. So
Well, look,
especially in a time where inventory is not easily and readily accessible.
Well, let's talk about, you just used the two words, most and lowest. When we're dealing with those words, there's space for one of each. One person can have the most inventory and one person can have the lowest prices. That's it.
Yes. And so before we jump to Grok's advice, let me just pause here. And if any of this that we're talking about sounds like something you've thought about or have been concerned about, and you want to grow your dealership and get more traffic, leads, and profit out of your dealership, then you can check us out online at richdealers.com. We run a program for automotive dealers that does just that. We call it Rich Dealers, and because it makes your life more rich, enjoyable, simple, and prosperous. And we call it the easy button for traffic, sales, and profits. It gives you everything, all of the tools you need to stand out and sell more without spending more. And you can check it out at richdealers.com. All right. With that said, Travis, what the heck was Grok's advice regarding AI?
Grok's advice was that dealerships should reject the idea of transitioning to an AI-driven, all digital retail environment. That we should stop talking about AI in that way. And instead, if dealerships are going to use AI, they should learn to use AI to improve efficiencies in their business and to improve training in their business and to improve other outcomes. But that they should focus on creating a human, optimizing and maximizing for and leveraging the human to human connection, the interaction between people, because above all, the car dealership business always has been and remains to be and will continue to be a people business.
It will be a people business. It is a people business because car buying is an emotional thing. People buy cars based on emotion. They buy cars because it connects with their ego. There's a lot of personality and personal connection to a car that goes beyond just its utility value. As dealerships, we can stand out in ways that are much different and greater than just inventory and price, because we are essentially at our core are a service business. We deliver a service. We are not actually the manufacturers of the car or the financiers of the car. We are the service provider that puts the right vehicle together with the right financing source for the customer in a way that makes sense. We help them figure out what it is that's best for their family. We figure out how to get the best price. We figure out how to get the best financing, and we put all of that together and we service. That's the service. And then there's continued service after the sale to ensure that that car stays at its maximum value for the entire time that person owns that vehicle. These are services. These cannot be replaced by AI. These are human touch points. Plus, the test driving to even is part of the process of deciding whether this vehicle is the right vehicle for them. You can't do that on the internet. You can't do that with AI. You can make a fake driving experience. You can make a fake walk around experience. You can make you can even at some point there'll be a virtual reality version of it, but it does not replace opening the door, looking under the hood, sitting in the car, smelling the leather, touching the steering wheel, and actually feeling like what it feels like to drive that car and see yourself in that vehicle. And I don't mean like see a picture of yourself, but mentally see yourself owning and driving that car on a daily basis, showing it off to your friends, taking it to the beach, driving it to the mountains, or whatever else you're going to do. Pick your girlfriend, your date up in the vehicle. All of that can't be replicated, at least not with anything close to the current technology. And in my opinion, until it does, we should stop focusing on AI and start focusing on the people. And when we do that, we're going to sell more cars. We're going to make people happier. We're going to better reviews, and our businesses are going to be more profitable. That's my point. And Grok agrees. So who am I to argue
straight from the Grok's mouth? All right. Hey, if you aren't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel here so you can get updates when we post new videos, and also share the videos with your friends and folks in your 20 group and folks that work at the dealership with you. And also comment, let us know what you think. Feel free, by all means, disagree with us, agree with us. That's fine too. Share your point of view. And, we'd love to hear, how are you using AI in your business to improve efficiencies and to improve training, to improve processes, and to improve outcomes without surrendering to it and just letting it, threaten to take over your business. Love to hear about that.
Yep. And if you would like to join us in our online discussion group where we work with where we help dealers become better dealerships through conversations like these, join us over on our Facebook group at betterdealerships.com. That's betterdealerships.com. And we'll see you on the other side. Until next time, you stay classy.